All right, the PGA Tour with its own edition of March Madness last week, and the last man standing, Scottie Scheffler, winning the Dell Technologies Match Play Championship. Geoff Ulrich, DraftKings contributor, is here, very vocal about this Scheffler win on Twitter. You didn't quite see him becoming the world number one a few months ago, did you?
Oh, I mean, other than you, Emerson, wow, that was a nifty little pan of the camera there.
Yeah.
Look, in all seriousness, I mean, did anybody in their right mind see this? I mean, Scottie Scheffler's dad probably did, and shout out to him. They had a nice moment at the end of the tournament. But, I mean, Scheffler was always a player. He was a prolific college winner. You know, he was pretty good at the Korn Ferry Tour, too. But I'm not sure anybody saw him coming out of the gates this fast after he grabbed his first PGA win, right? And I think it's not necessarily like an indignation that people weren't on Scheffler being good. It's just how deep golf is. Grabbing 3 wins in a 3-month stretch with how deep the tour is, I mean, it's almost obscene. Like, we saw the top players last year end the year with like 3 wins. The entire year, not 3 months, right? So I think that golf is super deep, and I think what Scheffler did to begin the year is incredibly amazing stuff. And I do think that there's other players out there who are just as talented and could have done that, but Scheffler is the one who came prepared, and it just shows, like, when one of these young players get hot, man. Yeah. I mean, things can flip on a dime. We've seen it with Morikawa at the majors, so big shout out to him. He's got a ton of momentum going into Augusta, and he's finished top 20 there twice already. Okay, great. So you kind of answer my next question here. Like, how much do you have to consider this dude for Augusta? He's the 4th best odds right now on the board at plus 1,600. I mean, and on the one hand, you have to say, like, the likelihood of a guy getting 4 wins in 4 months, like, what are we doing here? I mean, is this even possible? But really, I mean, this is just an odds thing. I mean, he's at plus 1,600. He's the number 1 player in the world now, and he's paired beside guys like Dustin Johnson, who he just bested at the match play, Patrick Cantlay, who he's looked far better than over the last month. It's hard for me to sit here and say you shouldn't have at least some interest in betting Scottie Scheffler next week. Now, personally, I do think, like Augusta, it is all about the prep. And I do think that, sort of, hitting at these other tournaments, will it affect him a little bit negatively? I do actually think that. I think when you see the winners at Augusta, it's just a slow buildup. We saw it with Hideki last year. He didn't come in with the win, but he was a slow build. And it typically just peaks at Augusta. And I think these veteran players, guys in their, later 20s, early 30s, even later 30s, they're just really good at doing that. I would be more akin to betting a player like Rory McIlroy plus 1,400 rather than Scottie Scheffler. That's just me. But the odds on Scheffler right now, they're absolutely fine if he's your, flavor of the month right now. Yeah, you mentioned like 4 wins in 4 months, like how crazy that would be. I mean, that's like Tiger Woods-esque. And by the way, Tiger, not on the past winners, not playing list at the Masters. So, like, the longer he remains on the Masters participant list here, Geoff, the more speculation will grow about him coming back. Plus 4,000. Like, Sobel pointed out this morning on Twitter, same odds as Sam Burns, your boy Louis, Sungjae Im, and Daniel Berger. Like, what do you do right now? How do you approach Tiger and these odds, not knowing yet if he's going to play or not? I mean, I think Tiger is a far more interesting play, like, for daily fantasy golf than betting outright necessarily. I mean, I think if you're betting him or you're looking at him on the DraftKings Sportsbook, you should maybe be considering him as like a top 20 bet when those odds get out. I think that the fact Tiger is practicing right now and he's getting some attention, just his name is on the list, I think there's a very high likelihood you're going to see him play. I think that there's also a likelihood that he could just pull the shoot and say, I'm not playing if he gets to Tuesday and just something's not feeling right. But I definitely feel like he is on track to be playing, which is really, really interesting. And, as far as betting him outright, I mean, the dude hasn't played competitively obviously since over a year now, since a massive accident. You can't bet him at that number. But I mean, I think that when you're looking and maybe when some props come out for the event, or, we get like top 20 or top 40 odds, you can look at those. It's never hurts to get a little piece of the Tiger action. At least it'll make it a funner week. But no, outright odds, unfortunately, you really should just be looking elsewhere. Look, Daniel Berger, who could easily almost have like 2 wins already on the season, is also plus 4,000. He's a far better bet than Tiger Woods right now, unfortunately. All right, the Valero Texas Open is this week. This is like the final tune-up for a lot of these guys. We're seeing some big names hit the course this week before they head to Augusta next week, Geoff.
So can you kind of just break down this course for me very quickly and let me know maybe which type of golfer you're going to be targeting?
Yeah, so I mean, TPC San Antonio, I mean, it's a quirky little like Greg Norman designed course. It's a little bit longer, par 72. It does give the players a little bit of trouble. Like the winning score here sometimes can get as low as or as high. So sorry, as like, you know, -12, -14. We have seen players go low. I think Corey Connors won here at 20 under par. Jordan Spieth got to 18 under last year, but it's one of those courses where you could say, you know, like if you're driving it straight and you're really hitting the ball great, that's good. But it does. We have seen like shorter hitting players perform well here. Jordan Spieth, not the longest off the tee, not really his best asset. He won here last year too. So if you get really hot with your irons and around the greens, you can sort of you can definitely compete here. And it's not in a course where you necessarily have to do any one thing great. It's what you call like a really solid all-around test. So Greg Norman, maybe not the PGA Tour's favorite son right now, but he's definitely designed like a very interesting, a very good PGA stop, in my opinion. I think this is kind of an underrated venue. Like I said, a bit of a longer par 72. The par 5s are not easy to score, and it's got some longer par 3s and par 4s as well. So a tougher test heading into Augusta. It's a very good course for guys to get, you know, a tune-up in. And I think that's important. You see guys like Rory, Hideki coming here. There's a reason. This is a bit of a tougher course. And if those players play well, I think it's a very good sign heading into next week. So a couple things to look for here at TPC San Antonio.
All right, we have a minute and a half left in show, so quick on this one. Bryson looks like he's going to tee off in San Antonio. Couldn't take down the people's champ, Richard Bland, at WGC. What do you need to see from him this week in order to have a little more confidence in him heading into Augusta? So he's plus 2,800 to win the Valero.
I mean, I'd really need to see Bryson get into contention this week. He just hasn't had much competitive practice. I think that you should probably just not forget completely about Bryson because you can always play him in DFS, but I don't really have interest in betting him for Augusta in the outright. I just want to see Bryson healthy. If he's competing this week, great. Definitely can consider him for DFS next week.